And so I am so happy to introduce Rose Luczaj, and I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
Introducing MindInk.
Hi everyone, my name is Rose Luczaj. I'm a freshman here at Emerson, and this is MindInk.
Behind every artist is a story.
Whether it begins with a once upon a time or it was a dark and stormy night is unique to each one. No two creative minds think alike. But more often than not, mental illness plays a role in artistic motivation and creative pursuits. Meet Sad Clown. I drew Sad Clown when I was 3 years old, at a time in my life when I didn't know how to express my feelings verbally. Constantly anxious and craving control over my own emotions, I turned to my art supplies for comfort. This trend continued throughout my childhood and into my adolescence. Art pieces like Sad Clown were able to serve as outward manifestations of my innermost thoughts and feelings. I am a firm believer that creative minds hold the key to destigmatizing mental illness. In a time where scientists and medical professionals are battling a physical health pandemic, it is up to artists and creatives to fight against the ongoing mental health epidemic as well. That's where MindInk comes in. MindInk is an alternative social media platform that focuses on destigmatizing mental illness through the creation of art and the sharing of masterpieces. Upon opening the MindInk app, you will automatically be directed to a survey about your day, where you will be able to log your emotions and experiences into your daily journal. This response will then generate an artistic prompt, which can be executed through various forms of media. So even if your story began in a galaxy far, far away, in the best of times or in the worst of them, how you write it from here on out is up to you. So grab your pencil, or your paintbrush or your guitar, and let's get creative together.
So welcome to MindInk, where we believe that behind every artist is a story. MindInk is an alternative social media platform that focuses on creating a safe space to share art while working to destigmatize mental illness through creativity. Basically, once you log into the app and create a profile, you are met with your daily journal where the responses you give to the app will generate an artistic prompt which you can answer through various types of artistic medias. It is a great way for artists to connect with each other, as well as to create kind of thought-provoking prompts and conversations. One thing I would really like to mention is that this social media platform does not have any likes or comments. The point of interaction on this app is to reach out and form genuine connections through support groups, which then have links to various mental health resources that can be incorporated into those support groups. This is a for-profit consumer app that operates on a freemium model, so although it would be free to download on the App Store, you could purchase a monthly subscription. So addressing the need for MindInk, there is a massive market, especially in the last 2 years with the global pandemic going on. Mental health has really skyrocketed in numbers. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness, and approximately 17% of youth experience mental illness as well. The target audience for this app are artists and creatives, as well as mental health advocates and allies, which more often than not do overlap. The goal is to reach these audiences through other social media advertising. It has become a trend over the pandemic to take to other forms of social media to share experiences like these, but it is not always met with the type of community that these people seek. The app will be extremely accessible, as I said, free download from the App Store. It will begin on iOS platforms and hopefully evolve into Android and Google Play. And once you purchase the subscription feature, you are able to remove ads and also have access to increased mental health care support, while there is a section for links and resources taking you to therapist searches in your area and such. There is an option to dial in a mental health care professional to your support group, say, if you are part of this premium feature. So a project such as this requires a pretty large budget. The app to develop itself would cost about $200,000, which with an additional $10,000 each for initial marketing as well as legal consultation. There is a lot of liability that comes with creating a social media platform, especially when it aims to tackle a topic as thought-provoking as mental health. As aforementioned, it operates under the freemium model. There would be advertisement space to generate income for mental health care professionals to advertise their services. So they would be extremely relevant ads that are very catered towards the audience that uses this app. And there would also be the occasional featured artist that would work with the app to create lines of merchandise in addition to the MindInk merchandise with the MindInk logo on it that would be sold through the app. As for a timeline, an app such as this, it's considered a complex app, so it would take 3 months, give or take, to develop, probably more. With proper advertisement within 7 months, I'd be able to release the app. In the fine print, you can see the specific numbers behind my calculations, but after 1 year, the first sales would generate about $17,000 worth of income, and the goal is eventually to expand to white label sales, where specific health insurance and healthcare brands can basically purchase the coding to this app, and it can be rebranded for their purposes and eventually used for their clients and their employee base. And that would, again, the numbers are in the fine print, but that would generate a lot of revenue as well, which would lead us, based on my calculations, to reach a break-even point within 3 years. So how would we measure success with this app? Meeting the break-even point would be financial success, as well as receiving endorsement from valuable influencers who do stand behind the message of mental health advocacy. But socially, really, the goal is to destigmatize mental illness, create productive conversations around it, and to create a talked about platform that really shatters the barriers that social media has created in our modern society. So thank you very much for listening, and this was MindInk.
Wonderful.
So
Rose.
powerful. Bhamathi.
So powerful.
So powerful. Bhamathi.
Great presentation, Rose. Really well thought out. You clearly have sort of done your work and you did your homework, and I love the way you integrated facts with the other side of it, right? So we really know why you're in this space and what you're doing there. And I love that. And, really super well done. So if I'm somebody who's going to invest in it, I know why and what you're doing and who you're serving, and you just really nailed all that. It's a pretty crowded space, right? And what I see in the common threads between people who are doing mental health apps and so on, especially in your demographic, and it makes sense, is you want to reach social influencers. And obviously there have been some really big deal stars who were mentioned in the last presentations, right? The Naomi Osakas and the Simone Biles and all these wonderful people who really are, sort of standing up and saying, hey, we're different. We approach this differently. I really admire their messaging, but I don't know that it should matter as much to you or to some of your peers, right? So I would say that, yes, I think it's natural to want to reach them, but think about whether they really dovetail with what you're doing or not. What you're doing is sort of a private space that enables people to feel safe and comfortable and cared for. And I'm not really sure that if it were me, and it might well be, let's say, that I would give a shit what Naomi Osaka had to say, because she's in a really different place than me in every way possible, right? It's not that I don't care what she has to say. I'm not sure it would resonate to me with your app, is the point. So think about your target audience and think about what you're trying to reach and how you're trying to reach them and the most effective ways, and focus on those. And don't let the distractions of social media and social influencers necessarily enter your space. What you're doing is particular and special, okay?
I want to also add to that you don't need to figure all this out up front, right? This is a moving target, and you might not have the budget. You might not feel it's necessary in the beginning to reach out. You might have an opportunity come across where someone actually wants to partner with you, and then you can figure out if that aligns with your brand or not, right? You don't need to know from the beginning, and you really have to listen to what as Bhamathi said, what your users are saying to you. It might turn out to be something completely different, more of a closed circle that they don't want anyone else involved in.
Exactly.
Buck or Amy, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I love the idea. I think it's really important for people to be able to share their emotions in that way, because a lot of times that's not being offered. It's mainly a talking therapy that people are offered. So this gives them a way, another outlet to express themselves when maybe it's difficult. I love that you're not going to turn on likes and comments. That's just brilliant. That's key for people to participate in this thing. Similar comments to what I gave to MoodCom in terms of, can you partner with existing mental health resources to get your idea and your brand out there? It also might be a source of people who could test your application and give you feedback on it. And are there existing platforms where maybe now you partner with them to offer this as a service to their platform so that you don't have to do all the underlying infrastructure and so on and support? You're just offering this one little piece. And then once it gains traction, then maybe you could split off and have your own thing. But it's a way to get traction pretty quickly without having to invest in a lot of infrastructure. And I like the idea that you do have some advertising, but I would caution that it might be perceived that having that commercial aspect is offensive to some. That's just my first reaction to it. But maybe you don't have to go that way if you can launch with an existing platform. But I love the idea, love your passion. Your video was very impactful. So thank you for that. That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I could just quickly add to that, you had me at no likes or comments because I think social media is one of the most toxic things affecting mental health at any age today. And I think your thesis is really clear. We have a mental health problem and art can help. I don't know that social media is the answer to that. And creating a social media platform, it could be one way of solving it, but I would stay true to your solve this with art, not solve this with social media. I love the idea of an art prompt, particularly when you're feeling down, like, gosh, where do I start is just the hardest thing. Maybe that's a shared prompt and suddenly you have a pool of people that are all doing that, people you know. And I think when it comes to how you actually monetize this, I would look to, as the other folks have said, look to other institutions, because it's really hard to get someone to spend $5 on an app. You might find it's a lot easier to have Emerson or Google or Gillette pay $100,000 to be able to offer this to their employees. So I would look at a B2B2C model where actually this is free in some cases to people, and that you're going through schools and community groups and employers, or even healthcare providers and payers to have this as part of their services.
Great feedback. Thank you all. And thank you, Rose, so much.
Thank you.